Hello everyone, welcome to PW Gulf. So today is the time for the last recap session for the class 11th. Today we'll be revising the chapter waves in one shot. So let's start with the lecture. What we'll be studying in today's lecture, what are waves and what are its types, then what is a harmonic progressive wave, what are stationary waves, and then we'll be going on to beats. Okay, so let's start with the very first topic, what are waves. See, basically, wave is a disturbance in a medium. We can understand it like this. If we have water surface at rest and we drop a pebble in it, what happens? Some circular disturbances are formed. Yes, circular disturbances are formed, and these disturbances travel from the point where it originates to the farther points of the water body. Yes, so wave is similar to that. It is just a disturbance. Okay, it is just a disturbance which travels in the medium. Okay, which travels in a medium without any transportation of the medium. See, the water where pebble falls doesn't travel to the water at the shore. Okay, so what happens? The disturbance is traveling from its source to the other points without any bulk transport. What is traveling? Energy is traveling, momentum is being transferred. Okay, so wave is a disturbance that carries energy from one place to another with the another place without any bulk transport of particles of the medium. Okay, example is ripples in a water, ripples in water. Okay, now light is also a source of wave. Yes, sound is also a source of wave. So example, all these are waves. Waves produced in strings, etc., like musical instruments, all those instruments which have strings, and we pluck the strings and vibrations are formed. All these are energies which are we hearing due to sound waves. Okay, sorry, vibration in a string that are produced. All these are examples of waves. Okay, now what are the types of wave? On the basis of the medium we have two types. Okay, on the basis of medium we have two types. First is mechanical waves, and the other one are non-mechanical waves, also called electromagnetic waves. Now these are also called electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves. Now the waves which require medium for their propagation are called mechanical waves. They require a material medium for their propagation. They cannot travel in vacuum. The waves which do not require any medium for their propagation are called electromagnetic waves. The waves which do not require any medium for their propagation are called electromagnetic waves. Now, what are the examples of mechanical waves? Example of mechanical waves is waves in strings, sound, etc. Okay, these are examples of mechanical waves. And what is an example of electromagnetic wave? Light is an example of electromagnetic wave. Okay, visible light or x-rays, gamma rays, all this electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, UV, infrared, all these are electromagnetic waves. Okay, these are electromagnetic waves. On the basis of vibrations, okay, on the basis of vibrations of the oscillating quantity, okay, we have waves classified into two types. transverse waves and longitudinal waves. Okay, transverse waves and longitudinal waves. Transverse waves and longitudinal waves. Now see, what are transverse waves and longitudinal waves? If the vibrations of the particle are perpendicular to the direction of propagation of wave, just like in strings. Okay, if I pluck a string and then leave it, or I am giving a displacement to the string like this, one end, okay, what happens? All the particles of the string are going up and down, but the wave is going forward. Okay, particles are going up and down, but the wave is going forward. So if the vibration of the particles are perpendicular to direction of propagation of wave, okay, direction of propagation of wave, then we call that wave as transverse wave. Okay, then we call that wave as transverse wave. Now in transverse wave, what will be formed? Crest and troughs are formed. Yes, the region where it will attain a positive peak, that will be crest, and when the particles attain a downward peak, that will be trough. So crest and troughs are formed in it. What are the examples? Example is waves in strings. Okay, example is waves in string is an example of transverse wave. Now let us see longitudinal waves. If the vibrations are parallel, if the vibrations are parallel to the directions, if the vibrations are parallel to the direction of propagation of wave, direction of propagation of wave, if the vibrations are parallel to the direction, like this, if my wave is going like this, while I am speaking, the disturbance which is originating from my mouth is going like this in the forward, and the particles of the medium are also vibrating like this. Okay, like this. So when disturbance is going like this, particles are also vibrating along the direction of the disturbance. That is called a longitudinal wave. Okay, what will happen? At one point, particles gather together. That region is called compression. At one point, particles will be far from each other, lesser density. That is called a rarefaction. Okay, so compressions and rarefactions are formed. Compression and rarefaction, compression and rarefaction are formed. Okay, compressions and rarefactions are formed. Example is sound. Okay, example is sound. Sound is an example of longitudinal wave. Okay, so these are the two types of waves on the basis of the vibrations of the medium of the particle. Okay, now let us come to next topic, displacement relation in a progressive harmonic wave. Now what is a progressive harmonic wave? In which each particle is doing SHM at its own position. Okay, each particle is performing SHM at its position. Now suppose this is a string which is tied to one end. If I am giving a disturbance like this to one end of the string, like this, what will happen? And I am keeping doing this disturbance like this. What will happen? A wave like this will be formed in the string. Yes, wave like this will be formed. Will this particle go to this point? No. After some time, when I see, wave will be like this. but this particle went to this position. Okay, this particle is oscillating at its own position. It was earlier here, now it is here. Okay, particle is doing SHM if I give such a disturbance that the particles of the medium start doing SHM about their mean position, okay, up at their own position, then such a wave is called harmonic progressive wave. Okay, and what is the equation of a harmonic progressive wave? What will happen? This was my string. Earlier all particles were at rest. I gave a disturbance to this particle at t is equal to 0, but the disturbance will take some time to reach here. Yes, disturbance will, this particle will transfer some energy and momenta to the next, then next, then next, then next. So there is a time gap between each particle when it receives the disturbance. Okay, this particle receives the disturbance, then next, then next, then next, then next. So depending on the speed of the wave, there is a time gap after which each particle receives the disturbance. So each particle will have a constant phase difference between the previous one. Okay, so two consecutive particle, okay, the phase difference between two consecutive particle will be same. First this will receive, then next, then next. Each will receive after a certain fixed interval of time. So there is a constant phase difference. Now this receives a disturbance, starts doing SHM, then next, then next, then next. So each particle is doing SHM about its own position, but there is a constant phase difference. Okay, there is a constant phase difference, between two consecutive particles, okay, there is a constant phase difference between two consecutive particles. Now see, wave is like this. If I want to tell the displacement of this particle from mean position, it will depend on two things: where the particle is positioned, yes, x, and next at what time I am seeing its displacement. Yes, because I told you every particle receives the disturbance after some time. So the displacement of each particle will depend on whether the particle is closer, far away, or where it is positioned. Okay, because this will receive the disturbance after some time t, this will receive the disturbance at some different time. So it will depend on x, plus it will depend on time. If now it has received the disturbance, now it is doing SHM, its position is changing with time, so I have to check both x and t. So this function, its displacement of any particle, from mean position or let us say at any time is given by the relation is y is equal to a sine omega t minus kx. Okay, so this is the relation. This is the equation of a harmonic progressive wave. Okay, this is the equation of a harmonic progressive wave. Harmonic progressive wave. Okay, this is the equation of a harmonic progressive wave, that a particle which is present at x will be present at y displacement at time t. Okay, so if my particle is present at x distance from origin and at time t I am watching its position, so y will be its displacement from the mean position. Okay, so now let us see what Other relation can be y is equal to a sine omega t minus kx can be the relation. Y is equal to a sine omega t plus kx can be the relation also. Okay, and y is equal to a sine kx minus omega t can also be the relation. Y is equal to a sine minus kx minus omega t can also be the relation, general expression for a harmonic progressive wave. Now what is the difference? Wave can travel in x, wave can travel in minus x. Okay, so if sine of kx and omega t are different, if sine of kx and omega t are different, like we have kx minus omega t or omega t minus kx, one is positive, other is negative, then wave is traveling in positive x-axis. Okay, then wave is traveling in positive x-axis. But if sine of kx and omega t are same, if sine of kx and omega t are same, like kx plus omega t minus kx minus omega t, then wave is traveling in negative x-axis. Okay, then wave is traveling in negative x-axis. Okay, if the sign are same, then wave is traveling in positive x. If sign are different, then wave is traveling in negative x-axis. Okay, so this is how we check whether my wave is going in positive x or negative x. Wave can go in y and z as well. Okay, then we will have k, y, k, z like this. Okay, the variable with k will tell me the direction in which the wave is going, x, y or z, but the sign of kx and omega t will tell me whether it is going in positive or negative. Okay, similarly, if we can write it in sine, cos is also a harmonic function, we can write it in cos as well. Okay, y is equal to a cos kx plus minus omega t, like kx, let us write complete only, my kx minus omega t, a cos omega t minus kx, a cos kx plus omega t, and a cos minus kx minus omega t. All these can be the expression for harmonic progressive wave. Okay, now let us learn about some important terms about waves. First is amplitude, the maximum displacement particle can do from its mean position, okay, in either of the direction is called the amplitude of the wave. Time period, time taken by the particle to do one complete oscillation, okay, that is called the time period. Now in this case, if my particle starts from here and then do a complete oscillation and comes back to its mean position like this. Okay, so this is my particle, it goes up, comes down, goes down, then comes up. Okay, like this, till it receives the disturbance like this. This disturbance is coming. Now whether the disturbance completes one cycle and I get the same displacement again, in the meantime I should do one oscillation. So both cases are same. Okay, time taken by the particle to complete one oscillation is also the time period, and time taken by the wave to travel a distance equal to its wavelength is also the time period of the wave only, because in the meantime particle performs one oscillation complete, it should receive the same disturbance again because then only it will undergo the same cycle again. Okay, so mean time, both time should be same, so that is called the time period. Next is frequency, number of oscillations particle will do in 1 second is frequency, or the number of cycles completed by the wave. Okay, number of cycles completed by the wave is also called frequency. We denote the frequency by nu or f, and it is equal to 1 by time period. Okay, it is equal to 1 by time period. Angular frequency is measure of how my phase is changing. Angular frequency is equal to 2 pi nu. Okay, omega is the angular frequency, so it is equal to 2 pi nu. Next is wavelength, distance between two particles which are oscillating in the same phase. Okay, so if at any time I am seeing the wave like this, okay, this is my photograph of the wave at some time t, this particle and this particle are exactly in the same motion, so the distance between two particles which are oscillating in the same phase is called the wavelength. Okay, what is wave number? How many wavelengths will come in one unit length? That is called the wave number. It is denoted by nu bar, and it is equal to 1 by lambda. Now angular wave number is equal to k, and it is equal to 2 pi by lambda, or it is equal to 2 pi into nu bar. Okay, this is my wave number, and it is also called propagation constant of wave. It is also called propagation constant of wave. Okay, similarly omega can also be written as 2 pi by time period. Nu can be written as 1 by t, so omega can be written as 2 pi by time period also. Okay, so these are some basic terms about waves. Now what is the speed of a traveling wave? Okay, what is the speed of a traveling wave? Now see, suppose what is happening, each particles are continuously doing oscillation. In a traveling wave we will see that this wave is traveling forward. So if I draw the wave after some time t, it will look like this. Yes, it will look like this. If pink one is the wave drawn at time t and yellow one is the wave drawn at time t plus delta t, so in the time t plus delta t, wave has moved by some distance delta x. Okay, so what is speed of wave? The distance by which the wave is traveling. Okay, the speed by which wave or the particular disturbance is traveling in the medium is called speed of the wave. Okay, speed with which the disturbance is traveling. Speed with which the disturbance is traveling in the medium, that is called the speed of the wave. And if we want to find the speed, it will be delta x by delta t. Okay, now see one thing, how much distance will my wave cover in one time period? Okay, in one time period it will cover a distance equal to lambda. Yes, this disturbance will reach over here in the time t. Okay, so it will cover a distance lambda in the time period t, so wave speed of the wave is equal to lambda by t. Okay, speed of the wave is equal to lambda by t, and we know that 1 by t is frequency, so it is lambda into nu. V and nu will look like same, so let us write f. So it is equal to lambda into f. Okay, so speed of the wave. Now one more relation we will see, speed of the wave. If I divide and multiply it by 2 pi, okay, I will get lambda by 2 pi, and I'll get 2 pi by t. Okay, now see, 2 pi by lambda we can write it as 2 pi by t divided by 2 pi by lambda. So 2 pi by t is omega and 2 pi by lambda is k. So from here we get a relation that speed of the wave is equal to omega by k. Okay, speed of the wave is equal to omega by k. Okay, this is my speed of the wave, omega by k. Okay, it is the speed with which wave is traveling in the forward direction, the disturbance is traveling in the forward direction. Now let us do speed of particle. Particle is doing oscillation. So just like in oscillations, speed will be different at different point. Similarly, particle is having different speed at different time. As it reaches the maxima or amplitude, its velocity will become 0, then downward direction, then negative, then again like this. Okay, so this is how my particle velocity will change, just like we did it in oscillations. Okay, now how we can calculate particle velocity? If I want to watch this particle only, I will watch it by seeing time, like time is going, yes, this is its velocity, this is its position, like this. So time is changing. Tell me whether the x of this particle is changing. X coordinate of this particle is not changing. Y is changing, it is doing oscillations, but the x is being fixed. So how can I check my particle velocity? Particle is doing displacement in y. So displacement is in y. The rate at which y is changing with time will give me velocity of the particle. Okay, so particle velocity will be equal to dy by dt, keeping x as constant. Okay, keeping x as constant. If we keep x as constant and then differentiate y with respect to time, we will get particle velocity. Now we know that y is equal to a sine omega t minus kx. Now differentiate dy by dt, keeping x as constant. What we will get? A will remain as it is. Differentiation of sine is cos of omega t minus kx. Further differentiated with respect to time, differentiation of omega t is omega and kx is 0 because both are constant. So from here we will get particle's velocity Vp as a omega into cos of omega t minus kx. Okay, this is my velocity of the particle which is present at x and at any time t. Okay, this is the velocity of the particle. Now what can be the maximum velocity of the particle? Maximum velocity of the particle will be a omega. Okay, Vp maximum is a omega only. Okay, maximum velocity of the particle will be a omega because cos can have a maximum value of +1. So this is my particle velocity. Now how can I check my direction of the particle's velocity? Suppose this is my wave at any time t. Now I want to check what is the direction of these particles. Okay, what is the direction of velocity? What is the direction of velocity of these three particles? Okay, I want to check this. So what I will do? I will draw the wave after some time. Okay, I will draw the wave after some time. After some time my wave will look like this. It will move forward. Okay, so after some time my wave will look like this. Now see which particle has come. This particle's new position is this. So it means its velocity was downwards. This particle's new position is this. It means its velocity was downwards. This particle's new position is this. It means its velocity is upwards. Okay, this is how we can check whether the particle is moving in downward direction or upward direction. Okay, one method is this one and the other is this one. Okay, See next, speed of a transverse wave on a stretched string. Now we know that speed of a transverse wave on a stretched string, if T is the tension, we have a taut string which is having some tension in it. Okay, so speed of a transverse wave, or let us say wave, in a string depends on two things. Okay, it depends on two things. Number one is mass per unit length. Mass per unit length of the string. Mass per unit length of the string, which we denote by mu. And the next thing is mass per unit length of the string. Next, I told you taut string. Okay, tension in the string. Okay, so next thing is tension in the string. Tension in the string, T. So speed depends on two things. One is mu and other is T. Now we can do it by dimensional analysis. Let us take that it is T raised to the power A and mu raised to the power B. Okay, we will add a dimensionless constant T A mu B, where K is my dimensionless constant. Okay, K is my dimensionless constant. So this is what we have. Now write the dimensions. Speed will have the dimensions LT minus 1. Tension will have the dimensions ML T minus 2 raised to the power A. What is the dimensions of mu? Mass per unit length, ML minus 1 raised to the power B. So from here we get the equation that A plus B is equal to 0, because mass is having 0 dimensions. Okay, if M0 L1 T minus 1 is equal to M raised to the power A plus B, L raised to the power A minus B, and T raised to the power minus 2A. Okay, this is what our equations will look like. So A plus B is equal to 0, A minus B is equal to 1, and minus 1 is equal to minus of 2A. So from here we get A is equal to 1 by 2, and if we put it in this like A, B will be equal to minus A, so B will be minus 1 by 2. Okay, so what is the formula? Formula will look like V is equal to K T raised to the power 1 by 2 mu raised to the power minus 1 by 2. So K is equal to 1. This is found experimentally. So velocity or speed of the wave in a string is under root of T by mu. Okay, it is under root of T by mu. Okay, under root of T by mu. This is formula for the speed of a transverse wave in a string. Okay, formula for speed of a transverse wave in a string. It depends on mu and tension in the string. Okay, next is speed of sound. Now sound is a longitudinal wave, mechanical longitudinal wave. Okay, it is a mechanical longitudinal wave. Now if I have a source, if this is my source of sound, then I have a region where particles will be very close to each other. Then I have a region where particles are farther apart, then again close, then again farther apart. So compressions and rarefactions are formed. Okay, so region where particles are closer, density increases, pressure increases, that is called the compression. Okay, so region where particle comes closer, region where particles come closer, that region is called compression. Okay, that region is called compression. And region where particles move apart, that region is called rarefaction. Okay, that region is called rarefaction. Now in this region, compression, particles move closer, so pressure will increase. Pressure will increase, and in this region where particle moves apart, rarefaction, pressure decrease. Okay, so sound is basically a pressure wave. Just like in strings we have oscillation of the particles, in sound we have oscillations of pressure. Okay, in strings we have oscillations of particles, in sound we have oscillations of pressure. Region where particles come closer, compression is formed, pressure is increasing, and the region where particles go apart, rarefaction is formed and pressure is decreasing. So there is a periodic oscillations of the pressure. Okay, it is a pressure wave. Now velocity of sound, now because it is a velocity of sound in vacuum, let us see. Now just like in transverse wave, okay, just like in transverse wave, we have in strings we have depended on T and mu. Sound needs a medium to travel, so it will depend on the bulk modulus of the medium and the density of the medium. Okay, so the analogous for tension is the bulk modulus, and analogous for mass per unit length is the density of the medium. Okay, so speed of velocity of sound in solids, it will be, in solids what it will be, it will be Young's modulus by the density. Okay, Young's modulus by the density of the solids. And in liquids and gases, and in liquids and gases, speed of sound will be bulk modulus by density, because for solids we define Young's modulus, we define bulk as well. Okay, but Young's modulus is mostly defined, and for liquids and gases we define bulk modulus. Okay, so Y is the Young's modulus of elasticity and rho is the density of substance. Okay, and B is the bulk modulus. B is the bulk modulus of elasticity. So sounds in solids depends on Young's modulus by density, and in liquids it depends on bulk modulus by density. Okay, under root of this Y by rho and under root of B by rho. And in vacuum it will be 0 because sound needs a medium to travel. Okay, now what is Newton's formula for speed of sound waves? Now when we were determining the speed of sound waves in air, Newton said that when sound propagates in air, it is a isothermal process. Okay, according to Newton, propagation of sound is an isothermal process. Okay, according to Newton, propagation of sound is an isothermal process. Okay, in air. So he said that when sound propagates in air, okay, when sound propagates in air, it will be an isothermal process. Energy is being transferred, particles are oscillating. Okay, so he said that all of this process will be an isothermal process. Now for isothermal process, what is my bulk modulus of gas? For isothermal process, bulk modulus of elasticity of a gas is equal to pressure. So speed will be equal to under root of P by rho. Okay, speed will be equal to under root of P by rho. But when we substituted the values in this, okay, when we substituted the pressure and density of air, but we get the theoretical results, the theoretical value doesn't match with the experimental value. The theoretical value doesn't matches with the experimental value. Okay, so from this we get a speed around 280, 285, okay, like this, but it doesn't matches with the experimental value, which is 320, 330. So what was wrong in this relation? Okay, what was wrong in this relation? What we assumed, what we get from the theory should match what we get from the experiments, but this formula was not matching with the experimental results. So Laplace came and corrected it. He said that according to Laplace, the propagation of sound is an adiabatic process. Okay, according to Laplace, propagation of sound is an adiabatic process. According to Laplace, propagation of sound is an adiabatic process. Okay, now he said that it is not an isothermal process, it is an adiabatic process. For an adiabatic process, what is my bulk modulus? For an adiabatic process, my bulk modulus of elasticity is equal to gamma times P, where gamma is the adiabatic index. From here we get the speed of sound as under root of gamma P by rho. So when we calculated the values by substituting the gamma for air, pressure and density of air, experimental and theoretical values matched. Okay, so in this case, experimental and theoretical values matched. So this is the correct formula for the speed of sound in air. Okay, experimental and theoretical values matched with each other. So propagation of sound is an adiabatic process, not an isothermal process, and speed of sound is equal to gamma P by rho. Okay, when we put the results in this formula, what we get is the correct speed of sound, which is 320, 330 meter per second. Okay, this matches with the experimental data. Okay, now let us do its variation. Now we know that ideal gas equation, from ideal gas equation we know that PV is equal to nRT, and we can convert, we can write N as number of moles by molar mass into RT, mass per unit volume becomes, so P into M is equal to rho RT. Okay, this we can write. Okay, so from here what is P by rho? P by rho is equal to RT by capital M. So we get the speed of sound as V is equal to under root of gamma RT by M. Okay, we get the speed of sound as under root of gamma RT by M. Very important formula, and we get that speed is directly proportional to under root T. T is the absolute temperature. Okay, T is the temperature in Kelvin scale. Always substitute T as the temperature in Kelvin scale. Okay, T is the temperature in Kelvin scale. Now next is power and intensity. Okay, now when wave propagates in a medium, some power is being delivered. Okay, intensity of the wave we can found. So what is power? Power is equal to energy per unit area per unit time, energy per unit time. Sorry, my bad. Sorry. Power is equal to, oh, what I have written. Sorry. Power is equal to energy per unit time. Okay, how much energy is being delivered per unit time, that is called the power. Now when we found the power of a wave, what happens? Each particle is doing SHM, so we can found out how much energy is being delivered per unit time. So when we substitute it, we can find the energy of any particle which is doing SHM. While we calculate, as the wave is propagating, each particle is doing SHM at its mean position. Okay, so if each particle is doing SHM at its mean position, we can calculate the energy. Energy will be half m omega square a square. What will be mass? We can calculate the mass by mu into L divided by T. So by this we can calculate the power. What we get power as? Power is equal to 1 by 2 mu v into omega square a square. Okay, so how we get this? We can get it simply like energy is equal to half m omega square a square, substitute as mass into length divided by t, length by t, how much length is being traversed in time t. Okay, so that mass is getting the energy in time t. Okay, so this is v, so half mu v omega square into a square. This is the power. Okay, this is the power. If we want to write it in frequency, we can write omega as 2 pi f. So power will become 2 and 2 gets cancelled, 2 pi square mu v f square into a square. Okay, so this is the power of a wave. So what we can see is that power is directly proportional to frequency square, and power is directly proportional to amplitude square. Okay, a is my amplitude of the wave. Okay, a is my amplitude of the wave. Now if I want to find intensity, intensity is defined as energy per unit area per unit time. First, which area? Area perpendicular to the direction of propagation of wave. Okay, area which is perpendicular to the direction of propagation of wave. This is my intensity. Energy per unit time is power, so we can also write it as power by area. Okay, we can also write it like this, power by area. Now if we divide this whole thing by area, okay, mu is equal to mass per unit length divided by area, mu by a diya. This will become mass per unit length into area, length into area will become volume, mass per unit volume will become density. So if I define intensity, intensity will become 1 by 2 mu rho omega square a square, and we can write it as 2 pi square mu rho omega square a square. Okay, this is my intensity of the wave. This is my intensity of the wave, and we can clearly see that again. We can clearly see that intensity is directly proportional to square of frequency, and intensity is directly proportional to square of amplitude as well. Okay, so intensity is directly proportional to f square and a square. Okay, next comes pitch and loudness. What is pitch and what is loudness? Pitch refers to the shrillness or sharpness of a sound. Okay, pitch refers to the shrillness or sharpness of a sound. Just like we say girls have a high pitch. Okay, their voice is more shrill, sharp. Okay, that is high pitch sound. So shrillness of the sound is called pitch. Pitch depends on frequency. Okay, pitch depends on frequency. More the frequency, more is our pitch. Okay, if f is large, pitch will be large. More is the frequency, more is the pitch. Now for human ears, okay, for humans, can we hear any sound, any frequency sound? Can we hear sound of any frequency? No. There is a audible range. Okay, we cannot hear sound which have a frequency less than 20 hertz and which have a frequency more than 20 kilohertz. Okay, so for humans, audible range, audible range is equal to 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Okay, audible range goes from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So from 20 to 20,000 hertz, we can only hear this much sound. A sound which is having less than 20 hertz frequency is called infrasonic, and a sound having frequency more than 20 kilohertz is ultrasonic. Okay, this is the audible range. We can only hear this much frequencies. Our ears can only hear this much frequency. Okay, what is loudness? Loudness is a relative measure of intensity. Okay, loudness, it is a relative measure of intensity. Relative measure of intensity. Now, can we hear sound of any intensity? See, if someone is whispering, we sometimes hear it and we sometimes don't hear it. Okay, so we cannot hear sound which is having any intensity. There is a threshold value that we cannot hear sound which is having less than this much intensity, and sometimes when we hear too large sound, we feel that our ears are suffering. Yes, it is not good for our ears. We feel this, like this is hurting our ears. So same, we cannot hear the sound of any large intensity. Okay, after a certain limit, we cannot hear that. Our ears will get damaged. So the audible range of intensity for human ears is 10 raised to the power minus 12 watt per meter square. Okay, less intensity, less than this, we cannot hear. Okay, so minimum intensity for human ears, minimum intensity we can hear, minimum intensity of sound is, we can hear, is 10 raised to the power minus 12 watt per meter square, and this is called I naught. Okay, this is the threshold value. We cannot hear sounds less than this much intensity, and the maximum intensity of sound we can hear is 1 watt per meter square. Okay, maximum intensity of sound we can hear is 1 watt per meter square, and the minimum intensity of sound we can hear is 10 raised to the power minus 12 watt per meter square. This is for human ears. Okay, this is for human ears. Now what is loudness? Loudness is a relative measure of relative intensity. So if we define loudness, loudness is defined as 10 log to the base 10 I by I naught. Okay, this is how we define, where I is the intensity of sound whose loudness we are trying to find, and I naught is a threshold intensity. It is measured in decibels. Okay, it is measured in decibel, denoted as dB. Okay, it is measured in decibel. So see how we can find it. If I want to find intensity of 1, let us say I is equal to 1 watt per meter square. We want to find the intensity of this much sound, loudness of this sound. Then loudness will be 10 log to the base 10, I is 1 divided by 10 raised to the power minus 12. So this will become 10 log to the base 10, 10 raised to the power 12. So 10 raised to the power 12, use the power rule. What will happen? 12 will come forward into 10 log to the base 10 of 10. This will become 1, we will get 120 dB. Okay, so we cannot hear a sound which is having a intensity more than 120 dB. Okay, this is the maximum loudness we can hear, 120 decibels of loudness. Okay, so loudness gives us a measure of relative intensity. Next comes is superposition of waves. Okay, so superposition of waves, we will study superposition of coherent waves. What are coherent waves? Waves having the same frequency, same wavelength and a constant phase difference, that are called the coherent waves. Okay, any two waves which are having the same frequency, same wavelength but a constant phase difference between them, that are called the coherent waves. Now see one thing, if there is a, what is a path difference and what is a phase difference? Let us see, there are two sources of waves, S1 and S2. Now waves from both the points reach the point, waves from both the sources reach the point P. First wave will travel some distance like this and reach P. Second wave will also travel some distance and reach the point P. Yes, they are traveling a different path. Okay, so let us take first wave travels this much path, but second wave travels this much path. Okay, now depending what is the difference in their path, what is the difference in their path, they will reach the point in different phases. They will reach the point in different phases. See here, it is the starting of crest and it is the starting of trough. So up till this much length there is same path, but this is the extra path this wave has traversed. Okay, so depending this extra path wave has traversed, we get a path difference. Okay, we get a path difference. So this S2P path difference let us denote it by delta x. This will be S2P minus S1P, the extra length one source wave will travel than the other source. Now if first wave travels this much distance, second wave also travels this much distance. Okay, both wave have traveled the same number of crest trough, there is no path difference between them, no phase difference. This is also forming a crest, this is also forming a crest, they will reach in the same phase. Okay, if one travels one more lambda, okay, if one travels one more lambda, then a phase difference of 2 pi is introduced. 1 lambda corresponds to a phase difference of 2 pi. So what is the relation between phase difference and path difference? Relation between phase difference and path difference. Relation between phase difference and path difference. If delta x is my path difference, then the phase difference will be, if I have a path difference of lambda, it introduces a phase difference of 2 pi. So 1 unit will introduce the phase difference of 2 pi by lambda. So delta x will introduce a phase difference of 2 pi by lambda into delta x. Okay, so this is the relation 2 pi by lambda into delta x. This is the relation between path difference and phase difference. Okay, this is the relation between path difference and phase difference. Now see, if I have two coherent waves, okay, two waves superimposing on each other, two waves superimposing are y1 is equal to a1 sine of omega t minus kx and y2 is equal to a2 sine of omega t minus kx plus, because this wave has traveled some other extra distance, it will reach the point P with a phase difference. Okay, so phi is the phase difference between the two. Okay, because these are coherent, they will have the same k and same omega. Okay, same frequency, same wavelength. Okay, so this is the phi is the phase difference. So net displacement of the particle will be given by, now net displacement of the particle at point P, two waves are coming, two disturbances are coming, it will be given by the sum of the two displacements y1 plus y2. Now we have done superposition of two SHMs. Yes, so similarly what we will get, the resultant. Okay, if crest on crest, amplitude will increase, trough on trough, amplitude increase, crest on trough or trough on crest, amplitude will decrease. So this is what happens when we have two waves superimposing on each other. So the resultant amplitude, okay, resultant amplitude this will be equal to, R is equal to under root of a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cos of phi. Okay, R is equal to under root of a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cos phi. Now what will be my resultant intensity? If frequency is same, intensity will be dependent on amplitude only. So intensity is dependent on amplitude square. Okay, I is proportional to a square. Can I write the equation as I is equal to k a square? So intensity of first source will be k into a1 square. Intensity of second source will be k into a2 square. From here we get one thing, that I1 by I2 will be a1 by a2 whole square. Now if we square both the sides, okay, if we square both the sides and multiply it by k, if we square both the sides, multiply it by k, so k into r square will give me k a1 square plus k a2 square plus k 2k into a1 a2 cos of phi. Just modify it a little bit, write it as k a1 square k a2 square plus 2 under root of k a1 square into under root of k a2 square into cos of phi. So what we will get? Okay, so what we will get it as k into r square will give me the resultant intensity. Yes, this will give me the resultant intensity. This is I1, this is I2, and this is 2 under root of I1 into under root of I2 into cos of phi. Okay, this is the formula for resultant intensity. This is the formula for resultant intensity. Now when two coherent sources superimpose, okay, superposition of coherent waves, two conditions are formed. Okay, two conditions are formed. One is constructive interference can happen. One is constructive interference can happen, and the other thing is destructive interference can happen. When you interfere in someone's life and produce something constructive, that is constructive interference. When you interfere in someone's life and that is not beneficial for that person, that is destructive interference. Similarly, two waves are superimposing and they are producing a larger displacement, that is constructive interference. Okay, when crest falls on crest, okay, crest falls on crest, or trough falls on trough, okay, when trough of one waves fall on the trough of the other, that is a constructive interference. And when constructive interference will happen, amplitude will increase, intensity will increase. Okay, in destructive interference, what will happen? Crest falls on trough or vice versa. Crest falls on trough or trough falls on crest. Intensity will decrease, amplitude will decrease. One is trying to give positive displacement and one is trying to give negative displacement. Net displacement will be the subtraction of the two. Okay, so amplitude and intensity both will decrease. Now when we'll be having constructive interference and when we'll be having destructive interference? If both waves reach like this, crest on crest, both waves are reaching like this, path difference is 0, both are falling crest, okay, or one travels one more lambda, then also both are having crest. So when there is an integer multiple of lambda, okay, let us see constructive interference and destructive interference. Constructive interference and destructive interference. So when path difference delta x is either 0, lambda, 2 pi, 2 lambda, like this, or we can say that delta x is equal to n lambda, where n can be 0, 1, 2, like this up till so on, then we will have constructive interference. So what will be my phi? What will be my phi? 0, for a 0 path difference we have 0 phase difference. For a lambda we have 2 pi, 2 lambda we will have 4 pi, like this. So phase difference will be 2n pi, again n will be same 0, 1, 2 up till so on. Okay, so when path difference between the two waves is n lambda and phase difference is 2n pi, then we will have constructive interference. Okay, so when phase difference is 2n pi, what will be my cos 0, 1, cos 2 pi 1, cos 4 pi 1? So cos phi is always 1. Yes, cos phi will be always plus 1. If cos phi is plus 1, then what is my resultant intensity? Resultant intensity is I1 plus I2 plus 2 root I1 I2. Okay, this can be written as root I1 square root I2 square. So resultant intensity will be root I1 plus root I2 whole square. Resultant amplitude will be A1 plus A2. Okay, so what is my resultant amplitude? R will be equal to A1 plus A2. Amplitude will increase and resultant intensity will be equal to under root of I1 plus under root of I2 whole square. Okay, and this is R maximum and this is I maximum, the maximum intensity we can have. Okay, so this is constructive interference. Now let us see destructive. First wave travels this much, second wave travels one extra half wavelength. One is forming crest, other is forming trough. Crest is falling on trough, destructive interference. Other will travel 3 half lambdas. Again crest, trough, destructive interference. So when we travel lambda by 2, 3 lambda by 2, 5 lambda by 2 extra distance, then we have destructive interference. So delta x will be lambda by 2, 3 lambda by 2, 5 lambda by 2 up till so on. odd integer multiple of lambda by 2. Okay, so delta x is equal to 2n minus 1 into lambda by 2, where n goes from 1, 2, 3 like so on. See, n is any number, 2n will always be even number, so 2n plus 1 or 2n minus 1, both will be an odd number. If you write 2n plus 1, start the series from 0. If you write 2n minus 1, start the series from 1. Okay, so this will be my path difference. So what will be my phase difference? Phase difference will be just if one complete lambda introduces 2 pi, half lambda will introduce pi. So half lambda pi, 3 half lambda 3 pi, 5 half lambda 5 pi. So phase difference will be pi, 3 pi, 5 pi up till so on. So phase difference will be 2n minus 1 into pi. Okay, again where n will be 1, 2, 3 up till so on. So what is cos phi? Cos pi minus 1, cos 3 pi minus 1, cos 5 pi minus 1. So cos of phi will always be minus 1. Cos of phi will be always be minus 1. If cos phi is minus 1, r will become a1 minus a2 and resultant intensity will become root I1 minus root I2 whole square, and this is the minimum amplitude we can have and this is the minimum intensity we can have. Okay, so this is superposition of waves. Okay, this is superposition of waves. Then two waves superimpose on each other. There is a variation in the intensity and amplitude when we'll be have constructive interference and when we'll be having destructive interference. Okay, so this is how we do the superposition of the waves. Now next comes reflection of waves. Okay, so reflection from a loose end and reflection from rigid end. Loose end and reflection from fixed end. Suppose we have a string which is rigidly fixed to one end, and suppose we have a string which is tied to a bead and the bead can slide over a wire. Now when I give a displacement or any disturbance to this wire at the one end, what will happen? It will go to this point, and as the displacement, this point of the wire will undergo the same disturbance, bead will slide up and down. Okay, bead will slide up and down, so the same reflected wave will be formed. Okay, same reflected wave will be formed when it travels in this direction. Same reflected wave will be formed. No phase difference of pi is used. Okay, no phase difference is introduced, and when I give a displacement like this is a rigid end, it cannot undergo a displacement. So what happens? A phase reversal will happen. Okay, a phase reversal will happen. This rigid end will remain always at zero displacement. Okay, it is taut, it cannot move. So what will happen? As the wave cannot go up from this point, what will happen? A negative wave is being reflected. Okay, this is a reflection of waves. In this there is no phase difference. If this wave goes like this and the other will come like this only, and then this wave goes like this, it will come like this. Okay, a phase difference is introduced, and in that case no phase difference of is introduced. Okay, no phase reversal, no phase reversal, and in this case phase reversal will happen. Okay, so this is a reflection of waves. Next is standing waves. Now what are standing waves? When two waves which are having the same frequency, okay, same amplitude, they are traveling in opposite directions. Okay, one wave is coming from this and the other is coming from this side. they superimpose on each other, then we will have standing waves. Okay, then standing waves are produced when two waves of same frequency and same amplitude traveling in opposite directions superimpose on each other, then standing waves are produced. Why we call the name as standing? Some wave is being produced, but the wave is not traveling. You will see that particles are doing oscillations, but the particle are doing oscillations, but the wave is not traveling. You will see like this, a wave will occur like this, but you cannot see it traveling like we see the traveling waves. Okay, each particle will do SHM but of different amplitude. Okay, in traveling harmonic progressive wave, each particle was doing SHM of the same amplitude, but in standing wave, each particle is doing SHM of the different amplitude. Okay, amplitude of each particle is different, but time period will be same. Okay, time period will be same. So there is no flow of energy. Same energy is coming from this side, same energy is coming from this side. So there is no net flow of energy, no net flow of energy. That's why we call the name as stationary waves or standing waves. Okay, these are also called stationary waves. When two waves are superimposing, it will form a wave like this. Suppose we have these two fixed ends. A string is present between these two fixed ends. So how a standing wave will be produced? Like this. Okay. Now see, this particle will always be at 0. These are called nodes. Okay. There are points of 0 amplitude. Okay, these particles will always remain at rest. These particles will always remain at rest. These are called nodes. Okay, let us make all the nodes yellow. These are nodes, and there will be particles which will do SHM of the maximum amplitude. See, this particle performs SHM of this much amplitude, this will perform this much. These are the amplitudes of each particle. Why I have drawn? They are doing SHM like this. So we see a envelope. Okay, we will see a envelope only. This is the envelope. This particle is oscillating between these two extreme, these two extreme, these two extreme, these two extreme, like this. Okay, so what we will see? We will see a envelope. There are particles which are doing oscillation of maximum amplitude. So these are antinodes. Okay, these are antinodes. See, these particles, these are the positions of the antinodes. They are doing maximum amplitude. Okay, these are antinodes. The position where the particle is doing oscillations of maximum amplitude, that will be a antinode. Okay, that will be a antinode. So we have nodes and antinodes. Nodes are the position where particle will always have 0 displacement, and antinodes are the position where the particle will have maximum displacement. Amplitude of each particle is different, but time period and frequency are same. Okay, amplitude of each particle is different, but time period and frequency are same. So we can take any two waves. Okay, we can take any two waves, a1 sine, okay, sorry, a sine omega t minus kx, and other will be a sine omega t plus kx. Okay, because both are traveling in opposite directions. One will be minus kx and other will be plus kx. Okay, so we can take two waves. Let us take y1 as a sine kx minus omega t, and let us take y2 as a sine kx plus omega t, because opposite direction. Yes, same amplitude, same frequency. First one is traveling in positive x, second one is traveling in minus x. What will be my resultant? What will be my resultant of the two waves? Resultant of the two waves will be y1 plus y2. So solve it. A sine kx minus omega t plus a sine kx plus omega t. Use the identity of sin A minus B. Sin A cos B minus cos A sin B. Sin A plus B, sin A cos B minus, plus cos A sin B. Cos terms in this case will get cancelled. We will get y as 2a sin kx cos of omega t. This is an equation of stationary wave. Okay, this is equation of stationary wave or standing wave. Now what is the amplitude? This 2a sin kx, this represents the amplitude envelope. Okay, this represents the amplitude envelope. See how I have drawn the amplitude envelope like this. So this represents the amplitude envelope, that the particle present at x will have how much amplitude. Okay, and at any time t we will have its position. Okay, so this is the amplitude. From putting the amplitude it is as 0 at all times, okay, we will get the nodes and amplitude at maximum at all times. We will get the position of nodes and antinodes. Now can only this be the equation of stationary waves? No, there are other equations of stationary wave as well. So stationary waves equation can be 2a sin kx cos of omega t. It can be 2a cos kx cos of omega t. It can be 2a sin kx sin of omega t, and it can be 2a cos kx sin of omega t. All four are equations of stationary waves. Okay, all four are equations of stationary waves. Okay, these all four are equations of stationary wave, depending what are the equations of superimposing waves. Okay, now let us see standing waves in string, which is closed ended. Okay, so we have a string which is rigidly fixed. Okay, rigidly fixed between both the ends, so closed ends. Always closed, this particle cannot have a displacement, so node will be formed at this point. Similarly, a node will be formed at this point. So what is the first wave we can have? So the first fundamental frequency we can generate in this string will be this. Yes, this is the first stationary wave we can produce. Okay, so what is the speed? Speed in string will be t by mu. Okay, so in this case, length of, if this string is of length L, length of string is equal to lambda by 2. So what we can say, lambda is equal to 2L, frequency is equal to speed by lambda. So the first frequency we got is 1 by 2L under root of t by mu. This we term as f naught, the fundamental frequency. This we term as f naught, the fundamental frequency. The first frequency any experimental setup or any instrument can produce, that is called the fundamental frequency. Okay, this is the first frequency, f naught. Now what could be the next stationary wave we can have? Next stationary wave will have a look like this, because the end should always be nodes. End should always be nodes. So this is the first, this is the second we get. So similarly in this case, L will be equal to lambda. So the next frequency we will get, let us take it as lambda 1. Next frequency we will get is, now V is medium dependent, it will remain the same. So F2 will be V by lambda 2. So F2 is equal to 1 by L under root of t by mu. So F2 is equal to 2 times F naught. Okay, F2 is equal to 2 times F naught. Similarly, if you calculate the next harmonic, it will be looking like this. So this frequency, third frequency we can calculate is 3 times f naught. So what we saw is f1 ratio f2 ratio f3 is 1 ratio 2 ratio 3. Okay, the frequency we can produce from string which is closed at both ends is f0, 2f0, 3f0, 4f0, like this it will go on. Okay, now this is the fundamental frequency. This is the next frequency. It is 2 times the fundamental, so it is second harmonic. Okay, it is second harmonic. Integer multiple of fundamental frequencies are called harmonics, and the next frequency my instrument can generate after the fundamental, that are called overtones. So this is the next frequency my instrument can generate after f0. This is first overtone. Okay, this is first overtone. Similarly, this is third harmonic and second overtone. Okay, this is third harmonic and second overtone. Okay, this is frequency stationary waves having in strings having both ends closed. Next is organ pipe, which is open and having an open end at one side. Now see, if this is my organ pipe, okay, it is having closed end at one side. So what will happen? Always a node will be formed at the closed end, and always an antinode is formed at the open end. Yes, always an antinode is formed at the open end. What is the speed of sound? It will be under root gamma RT by capital M. Yes, so the first case what we can have is stationary wave. First stationary wave will look like this. So in this case, length will be equal to lambda 1 by 4. So lambda 1 will be 4L. So the first frequency will be V by 4L. This is called the F0, the fundamental frequency. Okay, this is called F0, the fundamental frequency. Fundamental frequency. Now the next we can form is, next frequency we can form is like this. In this case, L will be equal to 3 times lambda by 4. Yes, 3 times lambda by 4. So from here we will get lambda 2 is 4L by 3, and the next frequency will be V, 3V by 4L, which is 3 times F0. Okay, next frequency will be 3 times F0. Now this is 3 times F0, so it will be third harmonic. Integer multiple of fundamental frequency is harmonic. Okay, this will be third harmonic, and but it will be the first overtone, because after fundamental we are getting this as the next frequency. Okay, we are getting this as the next frequency. And if you see next one, it will look like this. This, in this case, lambda will be L will be equal to 5 times lambda by 4. So from here we will get the next frequency as 5 times F0. Okay, we get next frequency as 5 times F0. So this is our fifth harmonic but second overtone. Fifth harmonic but second overtone. Okay, fifth harmonic but second overtone. If we want to find the ratio of the frequency, F1 ratio F2 ratio F3, it will be 1 ratio 3 ratio 5, like this. Okay, we will get F0, 3F0, 5F0, 7F0, up till so on, like this. Okay, now next is closed open organ pipe, which is open at both the ends. Now this is an organ pipe which is open at both the ends. At both the ends an antinode will be formed. Okay, both the ends antinode will be formed. V will remain again gamma RT by M. So the first frequency we can generate, first stationary wave we can generate will look like this. Antinode will be formed at this end and antinode will be formed at the other end. So first will be like this. In this case L will be equal to lambda by 4 plus lambda by 4, so lambda 1 by 2, so lambda 1 will be 2L, so F1 will be V by 2L, and we name this as F0, which is the fundamental frequency. Okay, this is the fundamental frequency. The next frequency we can generate is this. In this case L will be equal to lambda only, so from here F2 will be equal to V by L, which is 2 times F0. So we will get 2 times F0. This is second harmonic and first overtone. Second harmonic but first overtone. Okay, second harmonic and first overtone. And if we want to see the next frequency we can generate, how it will look like? It will look like this. Now in this case what will happen? L will be equal to how much? Lambda by 2, lambda by 2 and one more lambda by 2. So it will be 3 times lambda by 2. So lambda 3 will be 2L by 3. The third frequency we will get is 3V by 2L, which is 3 times F0. So what we will get is third harmonic and the second overtone. Okay, we will get third harmonic and second overtone. So what are the frequencies we are getting? F0, 2F0, 3F0, 4F0, like this. So the ratio F1 ratio F2 ratio F3 will be 1 ratio 2 ratio 3, just like string with both hands closed. Okay, so this is stationary waves being produced in organ pipes and strings. Okay, now let us do resonance. What is resonance? Suppose we have an oscillator. Okay, suppose we have an oscillator. This oscillator is tied to a string. Okay, we have a string which is taut. Okay, we have a string which is taut. Okay, it is having some tension. This is a taut string having some tension T, and this is an oscillator. There is always some natural frequency. This is a string of length L having tension T and mu. Depending upon the T and mu we will get V. Okay, and depending upon the length we will get the frequencies we can generate. Okay, so F0, 2F0, 3F0, these are the frequencies we can generate. When the oscillator's frequency matches with the natural frequency of this wire, then it will start vibrating, its amplitude will increase, resonance is established. So that it is a phenomena when the matching of vibrations happen. Okay, so occurs when the matching vibrations of another object increases the amplitude of an object's oscillations. Okay, so when the oscillator frequency matches with the frequency of this wire, then the stationary waves will be formed, then the frequency of vibration will increase, and this phenomena is called resonance. Okay, now next is beats. See, when we have two sources of sound which are having slightly different frequencies, okay, which are having slightly different frequencies, that is, the difference of their frequency should be less than or equal to 12 hertz. Okay, the difference in the frequency should be equal to less than or equal to 12 hertz. Then what will happen? We have seen the superposition of waves having same frequencies, but if we superimpose, like see, if we hear sounds, two distinct sound, one is a baby is crying and the other is some music and the other is a train is coming, we will hear three distinct sound. We will hear the baby crying differently, train coming differently, and the music differently. Okay, but if there is a sound, two sounds are coming which are having slightly different frequencies, what we will happen? There is an wobbling of sound. Okay, just like in siren. Have you ever noticed what happens in sirens? The we hear a constant frequency sound. Okay, sharpness of the sound is not changing, but sometimes we hear a low sound and then the sound suddenly increases, then the low, then the high, then the low, then the high, and that low high variation of amplitude is periodic. Okay, so that is called beats. Okay, that wobbling of the amplitude, that is called beats. When beats are the periodic and repeating fluctuations heard in the intensity. Okay, amplitude is varying periodically. When two sounds of having similar frequencies interfere with each other, then we will have the formation of beats. Okay, if the frequency of the sound are having a difference of less than 12 hertz, then we will hear beats. Okay, then beats are formed. Then beats are formed. Sorry, but if the difference in their frequency is greater than 12 hertz, then we hear two distinct sounds. Okay, then we will hear two distinct sounds. Now what happens in beats? We hear a sound of constant frequency. Okay, in beats we hear sound of one constant frequency, average frequency, one constant frequency, that is average frequency, but the amplitude varies, but amplitude, that is intensity. Okay, varies periodically. Okay, one time we will hear a large sound and then we will hear a lesser amplitude sound, then again the peak, then again the less, then again the peak, then again the less, and this will happen at a regular interval. Okay, this will happen at a regular interval. Okay, so if we have two sound waves, okay, if we have two waves, so first wave will be A1, or let us take as A sine of omega 1 into t, and the second wave is A into sine of omega 2 into t. Okay, where we have taken that omega 1 is greater than omega 2. What will be my resultant of the two? Resultant of the two will be y1 plus y2. So it will be A sine omega 1 t plus A sine omega 2t. Now A will come as common and we will apply the formula of sine C plus sine D. When we apply the formula of sine C plus sine D, we get two functions. Okay, we get two functions. One will be sine of omega 1 plus omega 1t plus omega 2t by 2, and the other will be cos of omega 1t minus omega t 2t by 2. Okay, we will get as sine of omega 1t plus omega 2t by 2 and cos of omega 1t minus omega 2t by 2. Okay, so solve it. it will become 2a cos of, if we write it as 2 pi like this, okay, cos of omega 1 minus omega 2 into t by 2 and sine of omega 1 plus omega 2 divided by 2. Okay, see this. Now we have two factors. One is this omega 1 minus omega 2, okay, and this difference is less than 12 hertz. Okay, so this part is called the amplitude. Okay, now you can see that amplitude is a function of time. Okay, you can see that amplitude is a function of time, and this is the average frequency sound we hear. Now why this is not the average frequency sound? F1 minus F2 is less than 12 hertz. This function is having a frequency less than 12 hertz. It won't be audible. If this is the frequency of sound which we are hearing, it won't be audible. So this average of the two is the frequency of sound we are hearing. This is the equation of beats. Okay, so frequency of sound we hear, frequency of sound we hear, that will be omega average will be equal to omega 1 plus omega 2 by 2, or we can write as F average will be F1 plus F2 by 2. Okay, this is the frequency we hear. This is the frequency we hear. And what is the frequency of beats? Frequency of beats. Beats are the periodic variations in amplitude. So what is the frequency of variation of amplitude? Omega 1 minus omega 2 into t by 2. This is the frequency of amplitude vibration. Okay, so whether amplitude is plus 2a or amplitude is minus 2a. Okay, so see, amplitude r, if we name it as amplitude as r, this is amplitude r, this will be equal to 2a cos of omega 1 minus omega t into 2, 2a cos of omega 1 minus omega 2, like this. Okay, so whether the amplitude is plus minus 2a, intensity is maximum. Okay, intensity is maximum. Intensity is maximum. So intensity will be maximum when this factor of omega 1 minus omega 2 into t by 2 is equal to n pi, where n goes from 0, 1, 2, 3 up till so on. Yes, so what will happen? When will we hear maximum intensity? That cos of omega 1 minus omega 2 into t by 2, or let us write it as cos of omega 1 minus omega 2 into t by 2, this is equal to plus minus 1, that is omega 1 minus omega 2 divided by 2, or let it 2 pi f1. So f1 minus f2 is equal to, this is equal to n pi, where n goes from 0, 1, 2, 3 up till so on. Yes, pi and pi gets cancelled. Okay, pi and pi gets cancelled. So the time at which we will get the maximum is, first is 0, next is 1 by f1 minus f2, next is 2 by f1 minus f2, so up till so on. Okay, these are the time at which I'll hear maximum intensity. That is the time period of beat only. One maxima, again maxima, that is the time period of beat. So if we want to find frequency of beat, this will be f1 fb, it will be f1 minus f2. Okay, this will give me the frequency of beat, because from here we get time period of beat. Time period of beats will be 1 by f1 minus f2. Time period of beat will be the difference between two consecutive maxima. Okay, so this is how we get frequency of beats. So beat will have this much frequency, and what will be the variation look like? So if we have the graphical variation of beats, it will be like this. Okay, like this will be the variation. Okay, this will be the variation of the representation of beats. Now this yellow one, okay, this yellow one is having the frequency, f1 plus f2 by 2, and this blue one is having the frequency f1 minus f2. Okay, see, amplitude, we hear a sound this much frequency, but how is the amplitude varying? Amplitude is varying periodically. This is the representation of beats. Okay, so this is all about the chapter waves. I hope this chapter has been revised completely and this session was helpful for you guys. Okay, so take care, keep studying, keep rocking. With this we complete our ultimate recap series. Okay, so see you all, take care, bye bye.